plan document. And we will be recording this and placing this out on YouTube. And so we will be sharing that YouTube link following the meeting today. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is Connie Bean. Thank you for being here today and being on the call with us. And I have Eric Tincher and Laura Leahy in the room with me. And just a few kind of housekeeping items. I do want to refer back to the allocation letters that you received from me. I think it was last week. I've sent you guys a lot of stuff between that and core indicators in the last couple weeks. But I did have a few calls about the allocations and the calculations. And keep in mind that the Perkins allocation amounts are calculated looking at last year's FY15 data that your institution submitted to kids, and it's based on the number of concentrators, and that's either 3/4, half, or full-time to come up with the FTE. So it's the number of concentrators who are Pell recipients. They have to actually be a recipient in Perkins approved programs. So that's how the allocation is determined. It's not a magic checkbook that we have here. But I also want to share that our typical allocation for program improvement plans is right about $3.9 million. This year, we awarded about another $30,000. So your numbers could be a little different based on that as well. And that $30,000 came from, I believe there were 4 institutions last year that last July or August had to return money to us. And so it is put back in the pot to be reallocated this year. And then Allen County usually doesn't participate. So it has Allen's FY14 distribution in there as well. And that's how we calculate it. Any money that's designated for program improvement, it always stays in program improvement. If it comes back to us, we use the last in, first out method. So we are able to reallocate that to program improvement for the following year. So we always take that money and send it back out to the institutions. And again, it's based on that formula. So it goes in the big magical pot. So it was 3.919 million. So 3.919 million. We allocated 3.950 million. So it was right about $30,000 more. Are there any questions about that? And I'm sure happy to answer those offline. I had a couple institutions ask me how we came up with those different numbers. So I can't send you the whole chart because it shows everyone, but I did send the figures back that showed your FTE and your calculations from last year based and then compared to this year. So if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact me. So today we're going to go over our new and revised application, and the reason for that update to that document is to consolidate and better organize it. So there's not pieces and parts and instructions within the plan, and Laura and Eric have spent a ton of time working on this document, and I think it's going to be very helpful. We've also provided some optional templates that we'll share with you today, and a lot of those come from best practices from across the state. Sometimes institutions don't really know how to report things to us, and we've never said, well, here's the format. So we've tried to come up with some other things to help you out and make that a little bit easier. We've also included a few things for better reporting to us so that we can in turn better report to the federal government. And some of these recommendations have come from them. We've also taken samples to meet those recommendations from other states. And we do have one little minor way that we're going to have you um, change your final report this year. And basically, because we have to derive the information for those 9 mandatory activities, sometimes we can't find all that information. So, for example, right now I'm waiting for final feedback on our car report. I'm praying actually because I'm hoping that the 96 pages of narrative that I submitted will be adequate. Last year they came back and I had not submitted enough information on special populations. So I had to go back, gather more from the institutions, and submit more. So my goal is let's give them plenty the first time and then maybe not have to do that. So we're going to go ahead and walk through the application. And if you just joined, this presentation will be available on our YouTube channel, and Laura will send out the link following this call so that you can go back and review anything that we've gone over. So without any further ado, and if there's no questions from the field, I'll turn it over to Laura.
Okay. So we should be sharing our desktop right now. So I'm hoping everybody can see it. We've got the website up and hoping that all of you use that website quite frequently. We do try to keep it very updated. So if you're ever in question about the latest in the regulations and what's going on with Perkins or new grants, that's on the website here. One thing I want to point out is that our handbook has been updated as of just a few days ago, so you'll want to download the new one and have that go through. One of the new things on that we've just specified, and I think most of you are following it already, is on equipment you cannot include service contracts for that in the cost of the equipment. So just kind of read through that and make sure you're up to date on everything with your handbook and on your Perkins applications and reports. And then the other handbook that's been updated that's out there is the Perkins Advisory Committee Handbook. And I think that's a handbook that sometimes is pretty underutilized and can be a wonderful tool for you or whoever in your organization puts together the advisory council meetings. And say, let's go on down here to our new application and reporting and this is for fiscal year 17 of Perkins. And there's some new, but I would say 95% of this is the same. It's just reorganized, hopefully making it a little easier to use and a little bit more step by step. So what we've done is organized everything into packets. And so you have your application packet, which has instructions and then all the documents that you need for the application. And then you have the final report packet that has instructions and all the additional documents that you need for the final report. And then there's another one that has just some supplemental information and some information in it, some documents you can use internally if you need to. So, but we're going to walk through the application packet because that's the first thing that you'll be using to turn in your applications in May. And again, there's the table of contents with some of the instructions and the how-tos that you guys are pretty much familiar with, but it never hurts to go through them. And then the appendix documents. So what we've done is we've put every document that was a Word document into the packet. And if a document was an Excel document, they are you'll see that they are separate, but they're included online, so you can see what they go with. But as we pointed out, we've just tried to make this easier, you know, like your grant cover page is Appendix A. And this way you can kind of cross-reference it. You know it's Appendix A, here's the name of it, and here's the page in this packet so you can go right to it and look at it. So we'll just go past these. And like as I was saying earlier, here's all the separate ones. So with your application, you would have 3 Excel documents, and we'll go through those today too. So as you go down, here's all of your instructions, a little bit of overview why the grant exists, just some general information that we'll let you all read through. And of course, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact any of us, and we'll be happy to answer them. So we'll just kind of speedily go through this. Hopefully I won't make anybody dizzy. A lot of very familiar information to you. I'm going to go a little faster. Okay. This is a checklist that we hope will be very, very beneficial. And I remember when I first started on your side of it going, now I need this document, I need that document. What is that document? And some people called it different things. But now it's pretty simple. It's Appendix A, B, C, D, and you can just check it off and you know you have it.
Hey, Laura, remember we're on page 15 for those who don't have Skype up.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, guys. Like Eric said, we're on page 15 for those of you who are going through on your own. And now we're going on down to Appendix A.
Can we back up just for a second?
Uh-huh.
So one of the things that we're really excited about, what Laura did so much work to get this organized, is that having those appendices like that, and maybe you mentioned, you said it and I just didn't catch it, is that we just think you can just check those off as you go through. So as you're filling out the application, we think it's just so much better than what we've had in the past. So we hope that you feel the same.
Yeah. Okay, so Appendix A. You know what? This is the cover page for the grant. You've all seen this. It has not changed. It just has a simpler name now. And also, by naming it this, you can know for sure that you turn this in with your application and again with your final report, but you don't need to turn in the cover page with your December and March reports. So it kind of saves a little bit of paper and I hope some confusion. Appendix B is the contractual provisions. Those are always important. And sometimes a lot of people forget that you do need this filled out and this filled out. We usually try to fill it in if you haven't filled it out, but you put that in on when you go to have your president sign it. And when you turn in, speaking of that, when you turn in your grant, you don't always have to have your president's signature on it the first time you turn in the application. You can send it to us. We'll go through it, make sure it has everything it needs, give you the okay, and then you can go get your president's signature. And that kind of, you don't want to have to try to find your president and get the signature twice. So hopefully that'll save you a little bit of time. Appendix C is the local assurances. Again, this is all legal stuff that we need and federal things that we need. And again, just your name of your institution and the original signature of your administrator or you. Appendix D is for consortiums only. And so that's when two colleges are needing to work together on one grant. So the rest of you don't need to worry about that, only the consortiums. Appendix E, certifications regarding lobbying, etc. Again, more legal information that we need. It's required federally. One thing that gets forgotten a lot is where is the grant going to be administered? Where are these funds being spent? You need to put an address there.
That's on page 21.
Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, everybody on the phone, that you can't see it. It's on page 21 of the document. Down at the bottom of the page is the name of the applicant and the printed name and title and the signature, which you usually all fill out. Okay, now we're on down to page 22, which is new, and it's Appendix F. This is taking the place of the page where you used to just list out your programs, your Perkins eligible programs, and then you answered some basic questions about them for size, scope, and quality. This gives us more information on size, scope, and quality, which is something that Connie does have to report on up to the federal level. So what you would do one of these, this Appendix X, you can duplicate it, and you would do one of these per Perkins program, so per zip code.
Right, and that was a good question from yesterday's or the first webinar. So do one per zip code, as Laura says, and the way the question came up was, what if I have a cert and an associate, or a couple certs and an AAS? Just complete one for each zip code. And this looks like another long document. There's one question about program alignment. Is aligned, yes or no? So tell us about how it's aligned with B&I. That is one thing that we continually hear is going to be a critical component of Perkins reauthorization, is the business engagement. So, this could be employer engagement, This could be they work with you on your advisory committees, a variety of things. But we're really looking toward that employer engagement piece. The other thing that this addresses, they're when we had our audit visit, they're huge on size, scope, and quality. And so all of you recently, this week, received your spreadsheet showing your Perkins programs or your CTE programs and whether they're approved Perkins or not, and looking at those concentrators. We had questions from them about programs that were not very large, and they might have been conditionally funded, but I had to address the question, how is this program effective with that size, with it being a small sized program. The quality, I think everyone is hopefully doing program reviews. That's number 9. Talk to us about what schedule. Is it on a 3-year schedule, or how often do you review your program? So the size, scope, and quality, this is something that I kind of had to derive it from what you were submitting to us, but it's a huge part of our final reporting to the CAR report. So these documents will help us much better accurately report what you are doing in the field.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about that? About anything that we've covered so far?
Okay. We'll move
Eric?
on. Oh. Yes?
Yep.
Laura?
Yeah?
Okay, this is Amy. On this Appendix F, do we fill out one of these, in our application, do we fill out one of these for every zip code program that we have?
That you have that's Perkins eligible.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So it'd be.
So you want a narrative on every program, how that program is addressing size, scope, quality.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, basically,
Okay.
every program that you would have listed out in the grant before in that list, you would be doing you would be doing an individual one of these for each one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same
Okay. I think I got it.
Any other questions?
And the other thing, when I sent out the information about the Perkins approved programs and the conditional approval form, you may have, a lot of times I'll hear back from institutions that it will be, like, hey, we have had low enrollment, but we have a new instructor now, and we are seeing a difference with a new faculty member. Or it may be a program revision where there's some different courses, or there's a variety of things that will affect that size. So just basically be honest about how are you ensuring that program is of sufficient size to be effective. And maybe it's a huge program. Maybe you have a problem on the reverse side, is that the program is so large that you're having to minimize enrollments and you have a waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
So it really could go the whole spectrum, just depending on what program that you have. But regardless, if it's a small program or it's a huge program, it still has to be managed at the campus level to be effective.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to the next appendix, which is on page 24, which is Appendix G. And this has been around for a couple years, so you guys are used to this one. It's the Performance Improvement Plan for Unmet 14-15 Core Indicators. And Connie, I think, has sent those.
Yep.
Yes, I sent, if you need to complete a plan for unmet core indicators, I sent you an email yesterday. And so one of the things, the only time that you have to do this is if you do not meet 90% of the state target on a core indicator or 100% of your institutional target. So if you don't meet either one of those, you have to complete a performance plan. So you might, in some situations, you may not have met your institutional target, but from our purview, you met 90% of our state target at the federal level. So if you have to do this, I sent you an email yesterday, and otherwise, if you do not receive that, you don't, and it was specific, and I did make one error that someone brought to my attention. So if something sounds weird, let me know. I got a core indicator flip-flopped, but anyway, if you should have been received an email yesterday if you have to do a performance plan.
Okay. Any questions on this one? All right, we'll go on to the next page, which is page 25, Appendix H. And again, this is another familiar document that you guys have been doing for a couple of years. And so it's your program improvement grant, what you're going to do with the grant funds for program improvement. Anybody have any questions on this one? Okay. Then we'll move on to I, which should be very familiar. It's the program improvement activity and progress report. And so this one is on page 26, and it's several pages long because this is your whole, this is the one that you're going to use for the application. This is your part of your grant, so it's all in the packet.
So what has changed on this document is you'll notice there's a place, an expandable cell to report December 1 and March 1, just like we had before. But you'll notice that instead of the final report area, it says final outcomes. And this is what we will ask for this year, in that all we want in that cell is for you to just tell us what was the outcome of that activity. If the activity was you're buying 4 welders, then you could put 4 welders purchased. Just a basic, what is the outcome? If you moved money and canceled that activity, just say cancel that activity, whatever the case may be. We're going to ask for specifics in another format that Laura's going to share with you here in just a minute. So where we were asking for specifics there, just tell us what happened, the final outcome of that activity, just very briefly, and then we'll ask for specifics in how you address that goal in another document.
All right. Okay, I'm going to move through a bunch of these, so those of you on Skype, try not to get dizzy. Okay, we're going on down to the next appendix, Appendix J, which is page 36. Towards the back of that document that you've gotten, the packet. And this one is kind of new, but it just gives us a better idea on the equipment. On the equipment that you're wanting to buy, and the technology items, which are your highly walkable items. And so, I mean, I'm sure hopefully you were always tracking it this way and had this information, but this helps us to get a better view of what you're buying and a better tracking for the federal government. So this one is proposed acquisitions with a cost of over $500 to $4,999. So these are the ones that don't have to be get a keyboard tag, but we do want to kind of know where they're at and know that you know where they're at. But just a little bit different way to put these in your application. And here's the one that's almost identical, except for it's for actual equipment that is over $5,000, and that once you purchase it would need a keyboard tag. Any questions on these? Okay. Okay, so that was page 36 and 37, and that's the end of the Word document packet for the application. So if we don't have any questions on this, I'll close this one and we'll go to Excel sheets. Anybody have any questions about the application packet?
Laura, this is Steve Lowen at Flint Hills Tech College.
Hi, Steve.
In the past, like in the activities sheet, we've listed all the equipment. So do we need to do it in both places or just in the appendix?
You can.
J and J and K.
Yeah, you don't need to list it in both. You could just say see Appendix J or see Appendix K on the activities page.
I think the hardest thing is sometimes we end up with where the institution, us and the institution can't figure out where the equipment went. So trying to get a little bit more information, and this was a question that Octay had, that because they were huge about the tracking equipment once it's on a campus, and I was asked about how we can tell where it is on the campus.
Yeah, this would hopefully be helpful for you guys too, if we're ever on site looking for it. Everybody has a better description of it, and we can know where to find it. So, all right, we're going to close this one out, and we'll go to the Excel sheets. 2 of them are ones that you've already worked with. So Excel sheet Appendix L is just our budget matrix, which was new last year. And the only thing different is we've added a totals column on the end. I think that was a request of several of our coordinators.
Field.
So that one's pretty familiar. And then the next Excel sheet is Appendix. Where is it? N. And okay, I meant to open M, but we've got N open, and it is new. So this Excel sheet is new, Appendix N. I messed my alphabet up a little bit here, but this one, some of our institutions were already doing, and we combined a couple of them, and it's a really good way of tracking the professional development and also tying the professional development to a program zip code if there is a program zip code. Now, we realize that some of your administrative staff will be doing some professional development, and then you would just make a note of that there. One organization was noting if this was added during a revision, and they noted the revision number. So that was very helpful. So we added that column in there. Hopefully that'll be helpful for you guys too. And then on this, the brief summary of benefits to student learning, that you will fill out for your final report. You don't need to fill that out on your application, but when you turn this back in on your final report, we'd like to know, and I'm sure Octay would like to know, and then Connie can also use it for her CAR report, how this professional development actually benefited CTE programs. So this is part of your fiscal year 17 Perkins grant. And then another thing we wanted to note, and also to kind of help you make it top of mind for you, is on-campus professional development. You can use your professional development funds not only to send people to professional development, but you could bring somebody on campus that would benefit everybody.
And I might mention, yesterday we had a question about on coordinator travel. So for those of you who, well, everyone travels to different meetings here at KBOR, different trains and so on across the state. That can come out of your professional development pool if you would prefer, rather than out of your admin. Because that's basically professional development for you. If there's a training like we did last year where we wanted the IR people or the business officers, same thing, that could be professional development for those people as well. So it wouldn't necessarily have to come out of your admin if your admin funds are going to support salaries or whatever else.
Any questions on this appendix? All right, we'll go to Appendix M. Sorry, I skipped around a little bit, but this one's also very familiar to everybody. We've had this one around for a long time, and we added a column after a meeting with the coordinators last September that they wanted to see actual expenses on that last column and not just a budget. So hopefully that'll help everybody work through that. Otherwise, this is the same as it has been for quite a while. It seems to work well. Okay. Okay. Those are all the, we'll talk about some other documents, but those are all the ones that you'll need for your application, for your fiscal year 17 Perkins application. Do you guys have any questions on those?
Laura, can I go back and ask a question about the equipment, something that you mentioned?
Okay.
This is Ursula from WATC. I'm sorry. You mentioned that we can't include service contracts. I'm assuming you're speaking of warranties and anything else associated with a new equipment purchase as well?
Yes.
Okay. How about preventative maintenance?
You cannot purchase that either.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, I am going to show you the final report packet. And the reason I'm going to show you that is because Appendix R, which is page 8 of the final report packet, a Word document, and you did not get this in the email, so you would have to bring it off of our website, is the final narrative report that Connie was speaking about. And we do want you to use this for this year. So a lot of the narrative that you would normally have put into your activities document, you will be putting into this final narrative, and it matches better with CAR. And I'll let Connie.
So you'll notice this is actually directly out of the CAR report, and you'll see that specifically the first 7 questions specifically relate to certain goals. You'll see the goal at the end of the question or the statement. So you'll be able to provide us the information that we had typically asked for within the progress report, but in a little different manner. The remainder of the questions are all part of the state reporting to the feds. And so I don't know what else to say about that. That document is on our website. So when you go to report this year with the final in your activities, instead of putting that narrative information in those activities, you can just indicate, the final report. And with your professional development, you could actually just say, if you use another template to report the student learning and that type of thing, you can say see attachment or whatever. But within this particular document is where you're going to tell us about the professional development. Please don't put student names and faculty names in there, but talk to us about what professional development your nursing program did, what different conferences, ACTE, and all. I know there's been a lot of travel here lately with a lot of the CTE instructors, and then basically again relate to the goals. I'm not real sure what else I specifically want to speak to. I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. Yeah.
I guess one of the things that we're hoping to get is that if there is a certain number of students, what impact, if there's anything that can be quantifiable, that then we can use to report up to the federal government. That's what we would really love to have in this.
Right. So, and I think I've said before that your institution names end up in our federal report our federal end of the year CAR report. So I'm specifically saying Wichita Area Technical College did such and such and such on each of these items. And because basically, if you think about this, we're asking you to tell us how you spent the money and what the outcomes are. That's what we have to do to quantify this to the feds as to this is where the $10 million went for Kansas, and this is the outcomes and impact it had on the students. So that's where you'll want to talk about, I say don't include student and teacher names, but be very specific. If you sent your counselors to training, or if they go to CACRO, or whatever the case may be very specific about what you're doing. This is not the only part of the CAR report. This is the only part where we're deriving institutional information. The rest of it, the narrative part, is reported from a statewide level. So when we have for example, I submitted probably several pages about our outcome metrics incentive program, because I'm asked about how are funds used to incentivize. So I have to write about the leadership and reserve fund projects that we do here at the state level. And I even include, just to give you an idea, and hopefully this will spur some ideas on your side, if you have other institutional support or other grant support of your programs, I'd love to have you include that in here, because that just shows additional institutional support and buy-in for these programs to the feds. So for example, when I did the last couple of years, when I did our CAR report, I included information about rigorous programs of study, the RPOS grant. So if you were an RPOS school, you probably were reported in there about different activities that we did. I submit information about our innovative tech grant program and what you all are doing with those grants, because if we have to do a state match, and so there's this just shows buy-in from our state, in that we're not relying upon just Perkins money to support our CTE programs. And we share a lot about SB 155, and so you're probably sick of hearing me talk, but just trying to give you more information about the why we're asking, because when I was at the campus level, I never understood why. I think some of you heard that before. So this is actually what we have to report on, plus more. So I would entertain any questions, and when you're doing this, if you need help or whatever, have questions, where we are. So please don't hesitate to contact us.
And again, we're asking for this for the 2016 final report.
Yeah, this Appendix R. And the rest of the documents you don't need to turn in. I mean, you'll be turning them in with your fiscal 17 grant. But we do need the Appendix R as part of your final report for the fiscal 16 grant. I don't know. I'm going to scroll up onto page 7 of the final report document, so that you can, and then here is the equipment. Here's the final reporting on the equipment, and then we can also track that you got your KBOR tag for that equipment. So
Right.
Just some follow-up. These are follow-up ones that are only related to the final report, but it's good to know where you guys can look through them before you start filling out your application, so you know what's there. Page 6 of the final report packet is Appendix P, and it's follow-up on the highly walkable technology items and the lower cost equipment. We're going backwards. Page 5.
Wasn't there a question the other day about supplies?
Yeah, supplies is technology now,
Okay.
and that's highly walkable. So the feds still want us to know where it's at. And then page 5, Appendix O, is the follow-up for the institutional goals, and that was new last year and added to the final report. And then going on up, just Perkins accounting, different information, and then on page 3 of the final report packet, you can see what documents need to be turned in with your final report. So again, hopefully this makes a nice checklist for you, so that when you're gathering all your information, it can be pretty readily available and easy to use. Trying to make this a little more user-friendly. You'll see some appendixes on there that we have not looked at. You'll see the Starlink and time and effort. Those are all in the packet that's called supplemental documents, and those have not changed. We've added advisory committee meeting dates, an Excel sheet that you could use to track that, and some of these tracking ones you can use this year if you want to.
And just a foot stomp, the advisory committee meetings are supposed to meet in the fall and the spring. So make sure that's please help sure that that's taking place.
Right. And then there's a copy of, just a reminder that we need a copy of minutes from one meeting per program for the year. And Appendix W in the supplemental documents packet is a great reference to how the minutes we would prefer that they look, but we definitely need the minutes to have the school name on them and the program name. Maybe the zip code would be nice because it's very time consuming to have to read through all the minutes and try to figure out what program they were actually for. And on that note, Connie reminded me with her mention of not putting in students' names. Also, please do not include student names in the minutes that you send to us. I had that happen some, so you could just block those out when you send them. Any questions? I would just say, go ahead and go online and pull these open and look at them, kind of glance through them, and then don't hesitate to email or call us with questions on what we've got here. You'll also probably want to download the new handbook because we've redone that to match these. So these, as Connie mentioned earlier, we're recording this and we'll be sending the link out to it it'll be on YouTube and we'll send the link out tomorrow. So if you want to review.
Alrighty, thank you very much and have a great day.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.